Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.
6 minutes past the hour, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Obsidian Radio, the live stream show. I am your host, Mumia Obsidian Ali. Tonight, we're talking a bit of politics, and we were talking about the situation that Roland Martin found himself in. So we're dealing with that. And then I laid out my own prescriptive for what ails Black America at this time. And now we're going to transition ever so slightly to someone who is no stranger to the O Radio audience. You all know who he is, the one and the only Shawn James, illustrator and book author and commentator extraordinaire. He's been here many times before. We look forward to having him many more times in the future. He has a brand new book that, interestingly enough, is right in line with tonight's discussion about Black male apathy, which is The Man Crisis. Brother Shawn James, how you doing, man?
Fine. Thank you for having me on the show.
All right. Okay, so I'm having some issues here with the volume. I have to see if I can try to straighten that out. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have you talk a bit about your book, The Man Crisis. Could you give us some background on that? And I know you got quite a bit to say about the elections, the situation that Roland Martin finds himself in with Tariq Nasheed and the fake conscious Negroes, all of that. So you have the floor. Go for it.
Well, my new book, The Man Crisis, details the issues that men are having right now, because we have a big problem with men today. A lot of men are falling apart due to the way they've been raised in these single mother households. And because they've been raised in these single mother households, they've learned these female life skills. And because they have female life skills instead of male life skills that their father would teach them, they are trying to apply these female life skills to the world, and they're winding up not being able to function in the world. And they're just falling apart left and right. And because they're falling apart all over the place, that's why we're seeing all of this increase in males going out here and participating in these violent acts like these mass shootings, and even a spectrum of other violent behaviors like these murders of families and murders of girlfriends, and even some of these men going out here and committing suicide. So the Man Crisis is all about this crisis we have in society due to the way we've had men raised in this gynocentric world and this gynocentric perspective. And this man crisis is something we're not dealing with or confronting. And I've only seen one place talk about the man crisis, and that was a Fox News report where one reporter just talked about how men are falling apart, but no one's talking about this issue on the regular because most people are afraid of offending and upsetting women. But I wrote the book, The Man Crisis, to talk about the crisis that's going on with men in America and the West these days, because I see the man crisis as being something that is very detrimental to America's future and the future of Black men in America and abroad.
Why would you mentioned in the Fox News reporter you're talking about is Tucker Carlson?
Yeah.
So and interestingly, it's an interesting backstory on that series. One of the installments he had on that series was Dr. Jordan Peterson, and they pulled that series. It got pulled from Fox News. Well, I don't know if you know that or not, but it got pulled. It was supposed to be a full series. It never finished.
Well, the reason
that leads me to my question to you. You said that one of the reasons why this issue isn't discussed more in terms of the media and whatnot is because of the fear that it will offend women. Could you elaborate on that? Why would women be offended about any of this?
Well, in a gynocentric society, women are primarily the biggest consumer market. And what big business doesn't want to do is alienate the biggest consumer market by making a statement that they are responsible for things. Because if you go out here and try to make women accountable or hold them accountable for the way they are raising boys, many of those women will go out here and try to stage a boycott of your company, and they won't go out here and buy your products. So that's why that series was pulled from Fox News, because big business doesn't want to lose the female dollar. And I talk about this in The Man Crisis, how companies need to make money off women because women are the biggest consumers. And with America being a consumer-based economy, they get 2/3 of their money from the female consumers who have most of the jobs and have most of control over the purses in America.
All right. Okay, so men do. So your view is men are in crisis. They're in crisis in part due to being raised in single mother homes. What does your book do to address this and offer any type of corrective or solutions?
Well, in the book, The Man Crisis, I detail the history of the man crisis, and I talk about in each chapter what boys aren't getting from their fathers, and I talk about the life skills that boys need to get from their fathers. So in each chapter where I detail each problem, I also talk about what those boys would get from a father and what they should get from men and healthy social interactions with men. In each chapter where I detail the problem, I talk about the life skills that boys are supposed to get, and I also talk about the importance of things like the intangibles of manhood, and I also talk about things like male authority, and I talk about things as related to the social skills that boys would get from a father.
All right. What I want to do is, because I don't want to hog up the whole time to myself. Like there's other brothers on the panel that want to interact with you. Let's go to C Boogie, because C Boogie's been lighting it up in the chat room. C Boogie, straight ahead. You got anything you want to say to our special guest, Shawn James, and his latest work, The Man Crisis?
No, what's going on, Shawn? I don't really have anything to say about it. I agree with what you just said. You know, there is a man crisis. But I don't have any particulars right now, man. So straight ahead, bro.
No problem. Let me move the brother Nagone. I know he's got something to say on it. Go ahead, Nagone.
Yeah, well, you know, I had mentioned just before when we were here talking a few minutes ago about how black men, you know, men in general, but black men in particular, you know, we are the ones who are mostly homeless. We're the ones who are basically getting the worst healthcare. We're the ones who really are kind of, you talking about, I want them out in the street. The ones who are really out in the street more so than anyone else are us. And we don't really have a net for ourselves in that regard. The women certainly do. You think you're going to be putting these women out in the street? You ain't going to have them. They ain't going to be out in the street like that.
And why do you think that is, Nagone? You said this a number of times. Why do you think that is? Why do you think men in general, black men in particular, are so vulnerable to being out on the street, not getting proper health care, whereas women in general, black women in particular, they definitely have those things? Why do you think that is?
Because they have a system that supports them. We don't have a system that supports us. It's just that simple. They have a support system. We don't. And that's why.
So where does agency come in all this? Seems to me black women. It seems to me black women are very engaged and involved, but black men aren't. So where's the personal agency? Where's the sense of personal power?
You asking me?
Yes.
You already know what my answer is on that. We've talked about it. You already know. It's on us. We have to develop a lot of this for ourselves.
And why do you think that's not happening though?
Why? Because, quite frankly, a lot of black men, we're too caught up in what these women are caught up into. We're caught up into that part of the system, and we're not looking out for ourselves. We sacrifice ourselves for the altar of this gynocracy. That's what we do.
I got a question.
That's what we do. We sacrifice ourselves on a regular and consistent basis. We don't look out for ourselves. We don't. And that's where if you don't.
Okay, that sounds a bit abstract to me. We sacrifice ourselves on the altar of gynocracy. Could you make that a bit more concrete?
Abstract? Yeah, very simple. Very simple. What do? Are black men really working together to really employ ourselves the way we should? Are black men really working together to, let's just say something like this, like a black male media to really get your story out there so people at least understand what the hell's going on? You just heard from Shawn James here just a minute ago that that story on Fox, and this is white on white stuff where they talked about male, men having these huge issues. Tucker Carlson came out and reported it, and they shut it down. They shut that shit down. For us, that was going on for us before it really started happening heavily to them. They threw you out of the home with the welfare state. With the welfare state, we know about that. We know
the welfare state was designed for women primarily.
Exactly. We saw that was the man was out of the home. We left. We took off. We've been alienated basically ever since. It's about us taking care of ourselves. That's why I say we have to get our minds right and so forth. Because at the end of the day, there's nobody else looking out for us. We have to look out for ourselves. If we're not employing ourselves, we're not putting ourselves in business. If we're not doing some of these things, especially in the future, we're not going to have anything really looking out for us. Really, maybe you'll get some Social Security. Maybe you'll have some lousy health care. Look at the veterans. A lot of our veterans don't even have good health care. At the end of the day, many of our veterans are fucking homeless. All right. So, I mean, just look at what's really going on. I don't think this is very abstract. I think when you look under the bridges in some of the big cities, you look on, you can go through L.A. and go down some of these side streets and see the homeless, mostly men. I mean, this is, we see it every day. We see it every day. There is not a safety net for men in this society. You are expendable. You're expendable. The women are not.
Right. I get all of that, but why aren't black men doing something about it?
Well, first of all, I believe a lot of this comes back down to media, to us controlling the media. I really believe it. I know that may sound simple, but the fact that we are not telling each other the state of where we are in many respects is a big part of the problem. The fact that we don't know about this. The fact that we are not aware of our homelessness the way we should. We feel it, but we're not talking about it. All right? We're not aware of our health, aware of our health care, and how prostate cancer and high blood pressure and these things are fucking us terribly.
Let me. I want to get your reaction and Shawn James' reaction, and then the rest of the panel. Dog Pound 21 says in reaction to my question, I think black men are too worried about taking selfies for the gram. He means Instagram, and worried about getting women. Get your shit together. Women will always be there. Shawn James, what is your response to that? And then everybody else on the panel, what's your response to that?
Well, that sounds like a gynocentric response to me, because when I was doing research for the Man Crisis, I learned that a lot of these boys who grew up in these single mother households, a lot of them are growing up again with these female life skills. And that's why they are taking these pictures of selfies on Instagram and focused on chasing women, because they never learned the male life skills and survival skills that a father would teach, because there's a clear difference between a male life skill and a female life skill, because the way the world works is different for men than it is for women. And one of the reasons why...
Let me stop you right there, Shawn. Let me stop you right there, because you mentioned this several times already. So let's take the female life skills first and then the male life skills. What are female life skills and what are male life skills? Just give me 2 or 3 examples of each.
Well, a female's life skills are very different, because a female, all they have to do is just go out here and look pretty, and men will take care of them. Whereas a man, he has to learn how to go out here and do for self. And when it comes down to a lot of these boys who are growing up in these single mother households, they are not learning how to do for themselves, and they're not learning that they have to go out and do for themselves. So a father usually goes out of his way to prepare his son in learning how to go out and do things like get his first job, or go out here and learn how to drive, or go out here and learn how to navigate social situations and social interactions with other men, so he can form connections with other men. And women don't have to do that, because women primarily get their needs met from men. So again, all they have to do is go out here and look pretty. And that's why we have these guys from these female-headed households going out here taking selfies, because they've learned these feminine skills, and they're thinking that they can go out here and act like a female instead of learning how to go out here and work like a man.
Okay. Anybody on the panel want to respond to that same point that was made by Dog Pound 21? Anybody else?
I don't. However, I did have a couple of questions for Shawn, if I may ask.
Go right ahead.
Hey, well, first of all, Shawn, thanks for supporting my site with your content. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
My first question to you is, where did you do the bulk of your research, or where did the bulk of your information come from for you to produce this book? Was it from childhood? Is it a combination of your whole life up to this point? Is it some points where you worked for the state of, I believe the State University of New York, if I'm not mistaken, or was it empirical data that you acquired on your own?
It's a combination of sources. Part of it comes from my growing up as a boy here in the South Bronx. Part of it comes from my over 15 years of experience doing research on nice guys, because I've been doing research on nice guys since about 2002, 2003. And part of it comes from my year working at AmeriCorps Vista with the Strive Job Readiness Workshop, where I worked with ex-offenders, the homeless, and many of the hardest to place individuals as part of that job readiness program. And the other part comes from my experience working at the City College of New York. So it comes from a comprehensive group of different sources and other sources that I got when I was doing research, again, on these nice guys, like reading Dr. Robert Glover's book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, numerous articles on these boys who come from single mother households, and reading numerous articles regarding the beta male.
Why, I want to jump in here. Why are the nice guys placed so prominently in your book on the man crisis? Could you explain that?
Well, the nice guy was a person that the feminists wanted to socially engineer, because they wanted to redefine manhood and masculinity back in the 60s and the 70s, and they wanted to socially engineer a kinder, gentler, softer male. And what the big problem is that these kinder, gentler, softer males that they tried to socially engineer, as they've grown up in these single mother households, have not become these perfect men that they thought they were going to create. But they've become these dysfunctional, malfunctioning men who just cannot navigate life because they are just too soft.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions for Shawn James here?
Yeah, I got another question if no one else has.
Go right on ahead. Oh, by the way, I'm going to start opening up the floor for questions, so I'm going to post the Hangout link. I meant to do that over the break. My bad. So I'm going to post up the link right now in the chat room for this final hour. Go right ahead, brother.
I haven't gotten the book, Shawn, but I definitely will get it sometime during this broadcast, and I'll read it. But I do have a question for you. Can you give me some examples of beta male behavior that you've encountered in the workplace?
Well, some of the beta male behavior I've encountered in the workplace is that the beta male, because I had a manager who was working at City College, and this beta male, he just avoids conflict and he doesn't want to do any sort of problem solving. So the beta male will just go and hide from people all day, or what he'll do in most places, because he's codependent, he'll delegate his leadership and authority to a female. And he did that at City College. And I also saw this on Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares and Hotel Hell, where these businesses were falling apart. And what the beta male will do is, again, he won't take power and responsibility for the business he created. What he'll do is delegate it to the woman, and then the woman will wind up frustrated and overwhelmed because he's given her this pseudo management title, and she's trying to manage things, but she just is overwhelmed because she just doesn't know how to do it. But the reason why he gave her that power is because he wants to make her a surrogate mother in some ways, and make her take the responsibility he doesn't want to take.
But why would the female get frustrated by that if she was instrumental in developing this beta male? So she should look for him to delegate power, delegate responsibility, because he's codependent on female.
Well, sometimes the females want the power, but then what happens is they become overwhelmed by the responsibility because it's out of their skill set or out of their knowledge base, because a lot of these women, they only have a high school diploma, or they barely have some college. So they really don't understand the intricate skills needed to run the thing that they're being put in charge of. So they wind up frustrated and overwhelmed. They love having the power, but they just can't handle the responsibility.
So in other words, they lack real traditional leadership skills, and they learn that they quasi leadership skills that they develop in a single parent home or single female home or single mother home rather doesn't suffice in the real world.
No, that's true. That's exactly what it is. They just, the skills they have, just they cannot use them in a real world situation.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions? I'm posting up the link in the chat room, so anybody want to jump in and pose questions to Shawn James. He's got this new book out, The Man Crisis, and we're going to be talking about that for the rest of the hour. By the way, we still need to make the goal for this hour of brothers putting something on it. Support Black Male Media, support Obsidian Radio, www.patreon.com/Mumia Obsidian Ali. Let me ask you, Shawn James, what are your thoughts on the 2018 midterm elections? There seems to be there was a strong gender component going on there. What are your thoughts about all that?
Indeed.
Well, I thought it was just going to be par for the course, but we clearly see that Americans really didn't buy into the whole Democratic rhetoric. So they were talking about how Trump really was a racist. Yes, the Democrats got the House, but Republicans really took over the Senate. So I look at the whole 2018 election as a referendum on America's so-called view of Trump, where the media was trying to demonize him, but it just completely backfired overall.
And what are your thoughts about this Roland Martin situation? You probably have heard, but in case you haven't, Roland Martin has come out strong against what he refers to as fake conscious Negroes, Jason Black, the Black Authority, Young Pharaoh, Tariq Nasheed, and so on. Have you heard about this? And if so, what are your thoughts about it?
I haven't heard about it, but it looks like Roland Martin is just trying to bootlick and brown nose now that he's been out of a job, and he's going after the pro-blacks in order to get brownie points with the white people in mainstream media. So one of the things that these pro-blacks like to do, not pro-blacks, but these sellouts like Roland Martin like to do, is find an easy scapegoat, make them the bad guy, and then use them as a stepping stone to get back in with the white folks in mainstream media. So he figures he'll start this online beef with guys like Jason Black and these other online pro-blacks as a way to make himself look like the good guy. But most people just see him as the Uncle Tom he actually is.
Okay, so I have a problem with this because his last job wasn't with a white employer. It was with TV One. So yeah, how would he be an Uncle Tom in light of the fact that his last employer was black?
Well, TV One is not really a network I would really deal with, because this was a network that put up an image of a web page thing on their webpage talking about the top white men in media. And as something owned by black women, it's not really for black men. So he's just trying to, again, get those brownie points with those white people and those sold out black folks so he can get back in with mainstream media.
Do you think the sense where he is in media today that the white media structure would want him back in there?
Well, they're pretty much done with him because he did what they wanted him to do. He was their mouthpiece, and now that they see no more use for him, they just decided to get rid of him. That's just par for the course, because that's what's happened to all of the black pundits. They just got rid of them once Barack Obama's term was over, and now they're just looking for a place to go.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think if anything, I think he was right about attacking these hoteps to some degree. But I think, for him, from a business perspective, it might make sense for him to have some beef with them to make himself more relevant in this black YouTube space. Because it certainly has been grabbing a lot more traction and getting here and rock and roll with these guys and build his platform and get his relevancy here as well. It might actually it might be a smart move. I don't know. Let's see how let's see how far it rolls. But it might work within his favor. Jason Black says he's dead. He said he's his overall old black media is gone. That they've blown him out of the water. But let's see if that's really the case. It'd be interesting to see.
They're gone. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You think the term Hotep is an incorrect term for us to use? Because I used it earlier in the broadcast, and you just use it now, because I can think of several people who don't fit the Hotep paradigm, such as Dr. Boyce Watkins and Jason Black. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, Boyce Watkins, what I call him a Hotep per se, maybe not. Jason Black, a bit more. I would put him more in that arena, but he reruns some red pill stuff as well. So, and I've been watching Jason Black good 10 years back from the days of Thugtician. So I've been watching Jason Black, and I've watched him evolve and change in some ways. So I think he's a bit more Hotepian these days, I would say. But there's some things that I agree with him as well. I do agree with him on some stuff, but I think this non-vote thing here he's talking about, I think he's wrong. I think he's taking somewhat of a Hotepian view, if you will. He did say to really keep it more towards the local level, so I kind of agree with him there. But I think his overall message and not voting for the big offices and stuff. I have some issues with him on that, but would Hotep apply to him a little bit? I think so. I think we could apply some of that to him. Yes.
Yeah, I want to ask Shawn.
I have a question for Shawn. What is your take on Jason Black, Tariq Nasheed, etc. et al.? What's your take? Do you see these guys as pro-black male or not, and why?
Well, I don't really see them as pro-black, because my view on pro-blacks is that they're just full of a lot of hot air. They talk about a lot of things, but they don't really do anything. And it comes down to supporting black-owned businesses. We don't see these guys talking about supporting black-owned businesses or even putting money on black-owned businesses. And most of them, they talk a good game about politics and stuff, but when it comes down to action, they don't really take constructive action. And that's my real issue with your Jason Blacks and your Tariq Nasheeds. They're more interested in selling their DVDs where they talk about the evil white man than going out here and taking action to support black men or black-owned businesses, or even help other black men learn the things that they need to learn so they can set a course for their lives or move their lives forward.
Hey, Shawn, would you call that a little bit more on the Hotep side of the game as far as that's concerned? Kind of what the Black Avenger was asking me. Would you look at that? I would say Hotepian, if you will, or is it more just pure pro black, or is there a difference?
Well, I've had my run-ins with the Hoteps, and I made fun of the Hoteps in a book I wrote called ISIS, House of ISIS. And when it comes down to the Hotep, he wants to believe he's a descendant of ancient Egyptians and Egyptian mythology, and it's quite comical. But as it relates to them, that's not really a Hotepian philosophy. It's more of a pro-black philosophy. The Hotep is more about ancient Egypt and making everything connected to ancient Egypt.
Right. And all that stuff.
Ancient Kemet and all that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've had my run with them.
Yeah, Shawn, I got a question for you, bro. Now, in your opinion, what are your top 3 issues that you think are plaguing Black America right now?
Well, the top 3 issues I believe that are plaguing Black America is the demonization of black men, the single-parent households, and the welfare state. And the third issue really has to do with black male unemployment. Those are the 3 big issues because they all relate to our economy and us not being able to build a strong black community.
Now,
the black male unemployment rate is at its lowest point since the 1960s. So I'm trying to understand why you would think that the unemployment rate would be an issue when it's been so low with black men. It's
low, but the whole thing is that a lot of these guys are not really working full time. A lot of the jobs that are out there are part time, due to Obamacare and the Barack Obama's healthcare, a lot of companies aren't really hiring these guys for full-time work. Because from what I'm hearing, a lot of guys, they get a part-time job. You got to get 2 or 3 of them. You're not getting full-time 40 hours. And because with 40 hours, you can build, but with 20 hours, it's hard to do because a lot of companies, what they do is they'll cut your hours. Because when I was working in a supermarket, I had 28 hours. They cut it to 25. And oftentimes you get these erratic schedules. And so it's hard to build a life when your job is stable.
Yeah, I mean, we have a gig economy. I think Black Avenger just mentioned that. Yeah, a lot of black men are working 2 jobs. Even my own brother. He's one of my brothers. He works pretty hard, and he's got a house and he's doing a lot of different things, and he's working 2 jobs himself. So, I see a lot of that going on. A lot of that going down. I do think the economy here is good. I mean, I'm in New York. I'm sure you're. Shawn, you're in New York as well, am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, economy's pretty good here. If you're in New York City and or in the New York area, greater New York area, you want to work, you can definitely get a job. Now, is it a high paying job? Where you're making a ridiculous amount of money and all that? No, I wouldn't say that. But there is a gig economy where you can make a living. I'll just say that.
C Boogie was in the middle of something, so I didn't want to interrupt him. C Boogie, if you're still there and you want to jump back in, go right ahead.
Yeah, I just had like one last question to Shawn. Now, Shawn, because you do a lot of research on your own, why do you think that a lot of people think that white man's ice is colder?
Great question.
Because I hear you talk about it a lot on your channel. Because I follow you. I'm a sub of yours, Shawn.
Right.
And you ain't got no picks and chooses, man. Like, you'll let the white man have it, just like you'll let the black man have it. And so, like, I want to know your opinion on that.
Well, that's due to years of mental conditioning as related to black people. Because a lot of black people, they always think that a white person's thing is better. And that's because they think that they live around white people, it'll make them better. They think that if they get closer to white, it'll make them better. And that's all due, again, to the mental conditioning that they learned, I believe, during slavery and after slavery. And they believe that if they get something from a white man, it means that it has higher value, it'll be of better quality. And again, that's mental conditioning. It's not true, but that's what they believe based on what they believe to be reality. Because their whole idea is if a white man made it, it's supposed to be better. Or if a white man owns it, it's better. Or if a white man has it, it means that it's of something of quality. And again, that's all about them believing that something that is related to white people is better, so they need to have it because a white person has it.
So do you notice that in New York City, do you notice that with Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, like Hispanics, the Asians, do you notice that they have that mentality, or how is their mentality differs from the black man's mentality? And now that's my last question for you, Shawn.
I noticed that some of these Dominicans in the Bronx, they may have some of that mentality. Some of the Asians who are Asian American may have it. But for the most part, when you look at Hispanics, you look at Asians, you look at Arabs, they always put their people first, and they will always go out of their way to support their people first. I mean, we have some Arab-owned stores here in my neighborhood, and almost all of them have gone out of business because no Hispanic person will shop there. They will go to the Hispanic bodega before they go to the Arab-owned store. And in most cases, they won't even go to the Arab-owned store. They will put their Hispanic-owned bodega first. The only people going to the Arab store are black people.
So do you think, okay, because I'm tracking what you're saying, so I'm trying to tie it all in. So it sounds to me that one of the biggest problems with the black man at this point is really mental. You see what I'm saying? Mental. Yeah. I got you. Past political, mental. Got you.
How's it going, everybody?
Yeah, what's going on? Is that Bill McMaster?
This is him. How you
Yeah,
doing,
what's
man?
going on, Bill McMaster?
Bill,
All right, yeah, go right on ahead. You got any questions for Shawn James in his new book, The Man Crisis? Go right on ahead.
Yeah. I have a question. Shawn, what are some ways in which you believe Black men can avail themselves of like valuable skills so that they can monetize those skills on the marketplace, right? Like what are the top skills that you think that Black men should be availing themselves of, and how do you think they should be going about that?
Well, the top skills Black men need to go out here and getting are IT skills, and you can get those by learning how to work on things like PC repair, and you can do that by going to things like I went to a training called PC repair at the Metropolitan Education Opportunity Center. I got that training for free, and that was what I used to get an A+ certification. Or you can just go out here and learn about computers on your own, or you can just go out here and get a skilled trade. So you go to a trade school, and trade schools are very good for Black men because once you get a skilled trade, what you can do is use that to start building your own business. So back in the days, like the 80s and the 90s, a lot of guys, they would go to college, but college, it really doesn't pay off for Black men. But what will pay off for Black men is starting to develop these blue collar and technical skills, because those are things they can use to start building their own businesses.
You know what? And just to add to that, I have to agree with that. So, because I recently just got a job, and it's a web development job, and I got this job right because I literally sat down every night in my home teaching myself how to code and how to program, right? And I did that on platforms like Udemy.com, edX.com. There's another website called codingphase.com, Free Code Camp, Code Academy. Like I did that, got books, and I literally taught myself how to do web development, or how to be efficient at software development on the web, to where now I'm employable on the marketplace, and my salary's increased, and it's completely remote. I can work from the house, so I have a lot of dexterity and flexibility, as well as that's also giving me the skills to where now I'm launching my own web design agency.
Great.
Yeah, so and I'm already starting to get clients. So I think that, man, guys, I don't know if a lot of guys know about these resources or.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in the IT field. I get a lot of IT people hired. That's what I do, but that's pretty much, what I do pretty much during the day is get people in front of clients, get them interviewed, and get them hired, and collect commissions off of them. And that's basically the bottom line here. So, and sales executives as well. High end sales execs who are in IT as well. But yeah, it's there's a lot out here. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in which to make money. In fact, some brothers who I deal with the Black Brain Trust. One of these brothers, he actually is a man who's kind of like a mechanic, and what he does is he fixes various types of electrical scooters, and there's actually a online course you could take to learn how to do this. And you can get a job and become a contractor to one of the companies that designs these scooters, and you can make up to if you're really kind of hitting it right, you can do easily $200 a day, $200 a day easily, no problem, just fixing this. So that's putting you at at least at $1,000 a week, and if you decide to work even the weekends and all that, you can go beyond. So you can make yourself a fairly decent living just off of this. You don't need a degree. You don't need to be a super ultra ultra technical person. They can show you how to do that right online. Take a course, and boom, next thing you're contracting out, and you pick scooters up, you fix them, and bang, zoom, you get paid. You start getting paid. I mean, it's get paid a fee. There's a lot of kind of opportunities out there like that where you can make money. And there's a lot of different ways to kind of go around and make money out here. So There's a lot going on in this economy. It's an interesting economy right now, but you learn a lot, just like you're talking about. You learned online, learn your web design, and bang, next thing you know, you're in business. You're making money.
Exactly, and with the internet, you can learn any subject now without even going to school. You can just go to YouTube and just learn it.
That's exactly correct. A lot of that's going on.
That being said, why is there so much apathy among black men today? With knowledge being so readily available, with job opportunities, business opportunities, being so readily available, why are there so much black male apathy?
Many of us don't know. I mean, you say there's so much. What bothers me is that black men, we're not looking out for ourselves. There are a lot of black men working. There are a lot of black men out here working right now. We've got the numbers on it. We've seen it. A lot of black men out here are gigging. It's just so many of us are just not focused on really maximizing our time and energies, really on ourselves in such a way where we're the maximum beneficiaries of it. I think it was Xanatos that just broke it down a little bit ago. You're going out, you're tricking in the club, and you're doing all this kind of stuff. You're blowing your money away. You're just doing dumb shit. And we are really not focused on a long-term goal, a long-term game. We're not trained for it. And I have to go along the lines of what Shawn and them are saying, as far as you ultimately being raised a certain type of way and not picking up some of these greater skills that you might learn from your father or somebody else like that.
There it is.
Because the male life skills are the thing that teach you how to think long term and how to build. And the guys are not getting that. They've gotten these, female life skills, and that's why they're tricking in the club instead of thinking about building. A man with long term skills, he's going to think about what he wants to do 5 years from now or 10 years from now, or what type of set goals. Because that's what I do when I would get jobs. I would sit there and set goals for myself about what I want to do. A lot of guys, they're not being taught, how to do this. So that's why that's why they're so apathetic, because they don't see purpose to things, and they don't really see a point to things. So they've just given up.
I don't
Go ahead,
know.
Kevin.
I don't know if I agree with that. And I'll tell you why. This, to use some of the stuff BGS has talked about, this Prussian school system we have has educated we've been educated and socialized to be labor in an industrial economy. Only 2% or more of, you talk about, Grant Cardone or Don Locke, any of these people talk about, only 2% or more of people actually going to be thinking about being a CEO or winning. Most people are socialized to just go get a job and be labor for somebody else.
That's an obsolete way of thinking, because our economy has changed.
Let me finish, though. Let me finish. An obsolete way of thinking, it very well may be, but it happened just like that. And the way of thinking is like turning a ship. The society doesn't turn. You may be, the people on YouTube right now, right here, we are probably have always been on the leading or bleeding edge of any kind of change, technology, way of thinking. Most people are slow adopters. They don't change. So the apathy is, imagine, just like you talk about, there are no jobs out there, guys getting part-time jobs. That really isn't a problem that I don't think. If you look at it the way I look at it, a bunch of part-time jobs, in my opinion, is better than one full-time job. A full-time job is actually a ball and chain, because it gives you one source of income and ties you down to one place. Stringing a bunch of part-time jobs together gives you maximum flexibility and is a more natural bridge to going into opening your own business for yourself. Most folks just want to go work 40 hours, get a check, commute, come home and do that thing, because that is what's been marketed as the American dream, which is what? Home ownership, live in the suburb, have a prefab life. And that has changed. So you're looking at black men who don't have access to the American dream as it was prepackaged, and don't necessarily look at the landscape like Nagone was talking about and see opportunity. All they see is not risk, but just there's not enough scarcity. So, I agree on some levels, but the apathetic part comes when guys just don't see that this is going to work for them. It's like, why am I doing all this? And I don't really know how you change that.
I don't think there's anything.
James's argument with the man crisis is that, and it sounds like he's talking about young men under 30, unless I miss my guess. And if that's true, then my question, and this is for Shawn, James, and anybody else on the panel, how do we explain guys well over 30, damn near 50? How do we explain that?
Well, those beta males usually, they're stuck in a state of arrested development, and they're not really thinking about anything outside of the now. Again, because of the female-headed household they came from, all they're thinking about is consuming, and they're not thinking about building. So you're dealing with a male who is still, yes, he's 50 years old physically, but he's about 14 or 15 years old mentally. And he's thinking about his emotional needs and not his economic ones, because the big problem with the beta male is that he does not put himself first, and all he thinks about is consuming, not thinking about ways to become someone who is productive.
And you know, and Shawn is he's very right about that. That's when you know, Obsidian was asking, well, you know, throwing yourself on the altar of
I agree with that
of gynocentrism and so. But I'm on it's abstract concept. No, these guys are not really looking out for themselves. I mean, they're not. I mean, you know, they may be looking out for others. They may be out here, you know, with the poor skills and all that. But a lot of men who are 50, 40s, and 50s, they're, you know, moving into 60s, they're homeless.
Well, because they grew up thinking that they were going to have their fathers and their grandfathers' lives. You know, I grew up from a union family, and the goal was, if you can land you a good union job, you can actually make it. But when the union jobs left, people were looking at the amount of skills that they had, and they didn't actually start noticing the environment was changing. That's number one, and that's across the board, black, white, alike. But when you and I do our show on winning and playing the game of power, then we will start to put the other side of this coin on the table.
Good point, Kevin. Good shit, bro.
Yes.
I agree to a certain extent that a lot of us are trained to be laborers. Hell, I was trained to be a laborer even in college. I mean, no one gave us the skills to start our own business or the motivation to do so. I didn't get the motivation to even start seeking self-employment until I was 35 into my 40s. So that's where we agree. But at the same time, not everyone has the aptitude to work for themselves or start their own businesses. We need a labor class.
Hold on. Think about this though. When I'm talking about working for yourself, you can look back in grade school. It's the kids who are selling baseball cards, buying a box of blow pops at the local Piggly Wiggly, and then going to school and flip it. That's entrepreneurialism. Even to a twisted degree, you talking about the D-boy. What did we do as a people? What did we do as a world before industrialization happened? You had a baker, you had a plumber, you had a baker, you had a blacksmith. Men had trades, and each person that had a trade had their own business. When we were in agrarian society, everyone had their own business. It's only when we started moving into industrialization did we leave the farms and move into the cities to work as a piece of equipment in the industrial machine. But any kind of business, they're always trying to keep the cost of labor and production down. So what happens? Automation has come along, and what they used to need people to pick cotton for, they had the cotton gin. That's just a natural progression. Well, now it's finally hitting into the middle class, and now people for the last 100+ years, this Prussian school system. This is any kind of capitalist society. They just make human beings that the quintessential battery in the matrix. We're going back to the old rules. That's why you're seeing all this retail collapse happen, because we got too much retail space. We're going to go back to smaller spaces. Like Obsidian, he's got a leg up on everybody, because fuck all these high-dollar college degrees. They only work when you have corporations to plug men into. But Obsidian actually knows how to build shit and do shit with fucking real tools. Okay,
Yeah.
that is a valuable thing, and it's always been valuable. The shit we've done for the last 100 years is only valuable when we are going from the farm to industrialization. Now we're in a global economy, and we're going to have to learn how to. And these younger guys are going to have to learn how to work in another world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll get deep into this shit.
Sir.
I agree with you.
No, we gonna rock, but there's some really good points that are being made here, and I do have to agree with because Kevin, you definitely on it, but I have to agree with some key stuff that Shawn is bringing up. I mean, this system has been kind of set for a lot of these people not to succeed, man. These brothers have sat back and been programmed to sit back and not come off. He's fucking right about that shit.
Hey, well, I agree with Kevin to a certain extent. Yeah, when you see folks who have that entrepreneurial spirit, when you see that they have that aptitude, then yeah, that should be seized and exploited. But there are a lot of people out here that aren't fit for entrepreneurship. I mean, you cited Obsidian's issue. Obsidian has, I would assume that Obsidian has an above average IQ. Worked as an engineer, worked as a tradesman for 22 years.
And he's entrepreneurial.
Yes,
he's entrepreneurial.
He's an entrepreneurial guy.
See, IQ
people have that combination of skills to bring to bear. I mean, honestly, I don't think it's as much as IQ as I think it is work ethic.
Yeah,
because it used. I mean, think about when we used to have to actually get out in ditches and dig and build shit. That's the reason why they used to tell you could work from sun up to sundown. Why do we have the grasshopper and the ant? It kept on talking about work ethic and industriousness. Obsidian is going to be successful anywhere you put him because he has a fucking work ethic. How many fucking are you a patron? How many goddamn Patreon updates do you get in a day and newsletters and shit like that? And on one channel, between him and Donovan, they could fucking paper the entire country with the amount of the work they do. And I bet you if you look at it across any cross section of somebody like that, myself, it's always been there. Let me just make this one point.
Go ahead.
We are back to the old rules.
Mm-hmm.
You want to study where we're going? Go study the Astors. Go study the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Fords, back to the robber barons. We are going back. That was when industrialization was coming in and the agrarian economy was switching. We're going back to the days of that is what this massive land grab on YouTube and online is. All this is happening. The world is changing in front of us. Now ask yourself a question. How many people? Go ahead.
Kevin, are you saying this is going back to a feudal type of system again?
We're going back, yes, because that's what power. Okay,
where's Shawn? Shawn,
I'm right
here. Shawn, you here?
Yeah, I'm here. I had to disconnect, but I managed to come back.
Yeah. Just chime in on this. Kevin made a pretty strong point. I don't know if you heard what he said. Did you hear what he said?
Not altogether because I was disconnected for a moment.
We are going back to what I think is the days between you just look at the wealth distribution. Wealth has not calcified in this country like it has right now. Back in the turn of the century, where we had the Vanderbilts, the Carnegies, all that other kind of stuff. The wealth is at the very top and at the very bottom. We're going back into feudalism, aristocrats, haves and have-nots. And right now, you will watch. They will study this point in time, this period right now, where the internet is evolving to. They're going to study this whole thing right here over the next 200 or 300 years. What happens in the next 5 years is reshaping the world. We're undergoing the largest change in human communication since the printing press. The people who can actually see the future and do something about it are going to win massively. Talk about the spinster bubble. We laughed about that, right? Ha, 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 all these bitches with cats. Well, imagine if you come up with the Post-it note for that spinster bubble. Fortunes are going to be made for wealth building is going to be made for generations in the next 5 years because we are going back to the steel industry, the railroad, the gold, the oil. But that's why I say study that period in history, because that's the roadmap of what the people who won big. Why do we have electricity now from Edison and not Tesla? When he was smarter. DC was better.
Tesla was talking about a wireless electronics, man, and these guys are like,
they ain't ready for where you about to drop Nagoon.
You ain't getting ready to sell this shit. You ain't getting ready to put this out here for free. That's
like, let me say this. Like everybody, like everybody that can bake a cake can't run a bakery. I mean, that's just fact. So the people that can bake cakes will have to get a partner that can run the bakery. So I kind of see where Kevin is going, but at the same time, that's just the reality, man. There is a hierarchy in competency. And some people are visionaries, some people can install things, and some people just have the competency to operate things. That's just how it always been. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to talk about the Black community specifically, a lot of our best and brightest minds do work for other people. That's just the reality of it. We can't, now some people take their expertise and their training and bring it back and do, start their own businesses and corporations and things of that nature. But I think it's a little bit more complicated than we just sitting here talking about, man. Yeah. Everybody cannot run a business, man. No. We've seen it 1,000 times. Man, I just seen this seafood spot. Man, I went to 2 months ago. Good food. I came back a month later to get more food. The shit was shut down. They can cook their ass off, but the business was horrible.
They didn't have any management.
Well, the businesses fail because of the business IQ of the owners. 80%, just like well, I don't want to get too deep into that because I know the show's about to be over. You're right. Not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur, and that's entrepreneur is the buzzword of the day. And just like Ray Kroc approached the McDonald's brothers could not see the future for Black America, for Black men. Here's what it's going to come down to: the people who think like Nagoon are going to build the fucking next empires, and then they decide to go hire Black men and pay them 20% more than the market will bear. Then you'll build Black wealth that way. There's always going to be kings and peasants. There's always going to be dukes and earls, and it might as well be some. Go ahead.
But sorry, Kevin. But now here's where one of the major flaws is going to be with that, and because I agree that should be the case. But now we got to start working on that whole mind right piece and really trusting each other piece. Now it's getting psychological, because if you look at the history, not to go too long, but if you look at the history of Black folk in this nation, every movement that got started, and this is fact, has been infiltrated. If you go to the Panthers, if you go to like a lot of these other guys, like even the Me Too movement, that wasn't us. You know what I'm saying? A lot of our movements were infiltrated by other people. And this is where a lot of the mistrust comes from. And this starts from slavery. So we got to work on that mind right piece as well. Can we really trust each other?
I disagree. I don't think. I was going to say, go ahead. I think the problem with the Panthers, the nation, and all that was that you had sociopaths.
There you go. Because I was going to say, let me cut that book. You just dropped the Ace of Spades. Let me go ahead and cut you with the High Joker. Out of slavery, we had. How did you start this broadcast, Nagoon? What did you yell out? 06. In 1906, you had Alpha Phi Alpha. That was 1906. You had a handful of Black men come together to start something that is still moving. I said this a month ago. Fraternities and unions have shown Black folks the way. We have had Black organizations of Black men who united under a concept of fraternity, who have been behind the scenes making power moves for the longest. We can do it. We got 5 organizations, 4 of which have been around for over 100 years, that know how to do this shit behind the scenes. Exactly. Now it's just a matter of
and Kevin, you hit it. That's why I say the mindset is a big piece of what we have to deal with. That is a big piece, the mindset. If you're going to sacrifice yourself on the altar of fucking anarchy and all this other bullshit, and your mind's not thinking about really being prevalent, really about winning, I mean, you're not going to. You know,
I want to get back to that.
If you think of hanging out in the club and all this other bullshit,
and I want to get Shawn's take on this. I want to get back to this idea of sacrificing yourself on the altar of gynocracy. That sounds very abstract. Are we talking about black men who are preoccupied with sexual access to women? Is that what we're talking about?
That's what I believe we're talking about partially, because the whole thing with a lot of these beta males is that they elevate these women at their own expense, and even at the expense of intangibles like their dignity, their self-respect, and their self-worth. Because a lot of these men.
Exactly right.
If that's the consensus of the panel, let me say this: I am a confirmed bachelor and self-described hedonist. Okay, self-described. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm the biggest pussy hound around, but I gets it in. And yet, as Kevin Samuels observed about me in the chat room, he was talking to, I presume, a younger brother who had asked him about a statement he made on one of his recent live streams. And the statement he made, and he can flesh it out if he like, was that if you are a young man, that is to say under 40, if you are a young black man under 40, not married, no kids, there's no reason why you shouldn't be working 60 hours at minimum, 60 hours a week. What's the excuse? If you are an able-bodied young black man under 40 with no kids and no marriage and no family, you're single, you're a bachelor, there's no excuse for you not to be putting in 60 hours at minimum a week at the job. And then he went on to say, pointing me out, he said, look at Obsidian, he's nearing 50. And he's still getting it in from sun up to sundown right now. This is after one career. Now he's doing a second one. He's still rolling from sun up to sundown. And he's almost 50.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So my question is this. I love the fuck. Ain't nothing better. I like doing this fucking. But I understand priorities. The priority is to get the business situation straight, and then I can deal with the women afterward.
Go ahead. Go on. I'm going to say, just like I do. Regional meeting, national meetings. We go do what we're going to do. We got all these meetings. We bring in some of the baddest dancing girls, club girls come in for an hour or two. You know what we do behind closed doors, and then we get that shit handled, and then we take care of all the business and building. That's the bottom line.
That's it. But okay, when we sit there talking about Obsidian. Yeah. Obsidian. Is your mind right?
Working on it all the time, brother.
Okay.
It's a work in progress.
Well, I think that answers a lot of it. Why is Obsidian doing that? Because put himself to work. Kevin and I wanted to do a hangout today. He wanted to do it at Spig. I couldn't do it. I was working. I couldn't do it. So it's just it's just listen. Brothers have to get their mind right on this thing, man. It's how we think. It's a big way of how we think. That's a big part of our issue, man. Big part.
I just want to say something real quick. I'm totally inclined to believe to agree with Kevin on this, that people just aren't working hard, right? So
yeah.
Like, in order to teach myself how to code, like I worked 40 hours a week, 40 plus hours a week. Since I've been IT contracting, I had a contract where I was working 65, 70 hours a week. Yeah. And I was coming back to the house and I was putting in 3-4 hours a day before work or after work, learning how to code, right? Mm-hmm. And I am a father. So I think, man, people just aren't willing to work hard. They're just not willing to put in that work, man. And
that's an interesting point you make, Bill. If I can jump in, I want to take it back to Shawn, because he's been making this case in his book, The Man Crisis, that a big part of the problem is that there are a lot of young men, we're talking about black men here for purposes of this discussion, a lot of young black men being brought up in single mother-led homes, and that they're being taught female traits over male traits. I want to refine what Shawn James said there a little bit, and I want to get his reaction to it and everybody else's reaction on the panel after him. Shawn, would you agree with me that a female trait is a tendency to find excuses?
That's definitely a female trait.
Yeah, for sure.
A tendency to kind of explain away why you can't do something,
lack of
or why you won't do something,
lack of taking responsibility,
something, or there's always something.
Lack of accountability.
Those are definitely female traits, because when it relates to females, again, they are used to getting their needs met by men, and they're used to getting men to take care of them, so they don't have to go out and have a work ethic. A man has to have a work ethic, because if he does not work, he does not eat, and if he does not go out here and make efforts to improve himself, he's never going to move forward. And that's something a lot of these young guys aren't getting, because, again, they were never taught work ethics, because mothers don't need to have a work ethic, especially single mothers, because they have more than one source of income. They have the government supporting them. They have child support supporting them. They have a welfare state supporting them, and they can even get a job if they want to. So they have multiple streams of revenue just for being there. Whereas the boy who grows up in that household, he doesn't understand how the world is going to work for him. So he doesn't understand that he needs to have a work ethic if he's going to survive out here.
Let me come at you with this also, Shawn. And I was talking about this earlier. You didn't hear me, but I'm gonna tie it into this political piece. So black women, we have empirical evidence that black women definitely vote, and they vote their own interests. That's a fact. Black men, now it's gotten to a point where whatever you may think of them, somebody of the stature of a Roland Martin is now discussing the black male Democrat Party problem. Okay? Black men starting to peel off for the Republicans. Now, let me suggest this. I would submit that not only is finding excuses a female trait that is rubbed off on a not insignificant number of younger black men, but I would further submit that being taken care of has also rubbed off on a not insignificant number of black men. That a lot of not insignificant number of black men are okay being what Tommy Sotomayor referred to as the Madden King. Sitting around all day being a slacker, and the woman is either working or getting a check from the government or both. What's your reaction to that?
Well, that's something that I know to be true, because a lot of these guys, again, they come out of these single mother households, and it's just like Jody from Baby Boy. They're used to women taking care of them, and they're used to being comfortable, because what these boys learned in the single mother households, these beta males, they are all about comfort. You know, they're only looking to get their emotional needs met, because that's the way their mother raised them, and that's the way their mother prepared them. So they're not used to going out here and having to go to work, and they don't really believe they need to go to work, because mommy will buy everything for them, and mommy will take care of them. And that's why we have this group of Madden Kings, because mommy will sit there and coddle them. Whereas there was a father in the home, he's not going to allow his boy to be sitting on a couch playing video games all day. He's going to insist that this boy do some work in the house, one, to make sure his room is clean and stuff is organized, and two, he's going to take him out to the job and have him meet with people on the job or help him on the job so he can develop that work ethic. Because that's what a father's going to do. He's going to insist that his son start going out here and doing things, because, again, that's how he starts developing those male life skills and survival skills. Whereas the woman, she will usually coddle her son, make excuses for him, say that if he goes out in the street, he's going to hurt himself or something's going to happen to him. And what she does when her coddling is she winds up hurting the boy, because as he gets older and he starts to turn 18, 19, 20 years old, he has no life skills. And that's how these guys usually either wind up homeless or in prison. Now,
I said earlier that the single biggest problem facing black America ain't racism. It ain't the prison industrial complex. It ain't gentrification. It ain't bad education. The single biggest problem facing black America is that black men and black women don't get along. And the reason why that is because of the welfare state. It is destroying the fabric of black America. It is hollowing it out from the inside. And I think what you're talking about flows right into what I'm talking about. Now, what's interesting about what you said, I see in my own life. The reason why I am the way I am today, because I started working with my dad, who was a contractor, tradesman. I started out as an unofficial apprentice to him at 7 years old, being a gopher, carrying his tool bag and his tool bucket and stuff, sweeping up, getting the guys sandwiches from the store. And as I got older, I started being assigned simple tasks. And then as I got older, I started doing jobs with my dad and his guys. Everything I ever got, I used to be really heavy, and I still am today, DJing and turntablism and all the rest of it. I bought all my equipment myself, bought all my school clothes myself, and then I went into business for myself. I had my little rap group, and we would do parties and stuff like that, and I made extra money with that. So I worked with my dad, and then I did my own parties and stuff on the weekend and stuff like that after working with my dad in the daytime. So I was used to working for myself and used to making money. So I did all those things. And my dad being a hardcore Marine, he ain't trying to hear no excuses about shit. You are to perform, end of.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah, yes, sir.
You are to perform. Period.
Well, the problem with I put it in the chat room. The problem with your theory that most people have with your theory is your Occam's razor is too sharp. It is too simple. And when people look at the multi-headed hydra that is any community, much less the black community, most people want to grasp for a complex set of variables and things to explain the blatant fuckery and confusion in the black community. To just distill it down to is because black men and black women don't get along is frustratingly simple. But that's the point. You can't do shit when black men and black women don't get along. You got no family. You got no neighborhood. You got no community. You got no nothing. And I think...
Well, I'm going to interject here.
Go ahead.
As it relates to the black man and the black woman not getting along, that's due to the government and the welfare state enabling the black woman to be a dysfunctional person.
That's right.
Because the welfare state is the one that makes excuses for the black woman. It's the thing that enables the children to be coddled. As someone who grew up on welfare, I've seen this happen. In the welfare state, what it does is it enables these women to maintain this lifestyle that they have. So because she's maintaining her lifestyle, she does not teach the children to be disciplined, and the father can't come in because the welfare state interferes and tells you can't have the father in the home, and that in some cases when you have divorced households, because the woman has the custody, the father can't really engage the child to do like Obsidian's father did in preparing the boy for manhood. And that's really why we have all these Madden Kings and baby boys, because the welfare state just gets in the way and prevents these men from being able to come in and not only teach the boy the male life skills, but model manhood for the daughters so they can see what a man is actually like.
Yeah, I remember I was a kid. I bought my first car. I never forget it. 1970, they used to call it a deuce and a quarter. I had a 1975 Buick Electra 225. They called the old heads called a deuce and a quarter. Huge car. I bought that for my very first car. I never forget it. It cost me $500. Bought that working with my dad. When I was 18 years old, that was my very first car. Loved that car. And had a lot of fun in it. I had a blast. And like I said, I bought all my equipment myself, my DJing equipment and stuff. And I made money additionally doing parties and everything like that. And watching my dad run his business, and then my grandmother and my grandfather, they had their own business. I mean, watching them do it and watching other family members do it, it was very simple to me to be able to do my own damn thing. And I did. So, I mean, it's alien to me to watch so much apathy among black men. That's an alien concept to me. It's alien.
But you can see it every day on your channel when you just have to keep reinforcing the same message. And that's because of that single mother mindset. I mean, understand
that's
this.
Right.
We know this,
that's
that
right.
Women are at their base core programming. The female women are survival machines, but survival only. That welfare mind states is basically when you get good enough, like Shawn was talking about, like in the projects and on the welfare that I grew up on, it was just as long as we can survive, We're good. Men are based on thriving. What you're talking about, Obsidian, is you were raised around men, and men, our natural instinct to create is through building. That is how men give life to the world, through building. Women give life to the world through, we build worlds, women build children. So it's no surprise that the Black community we have right now is a stunted child because there are no men in charge of it.
And that's when we talk about winning and really talking about, being prevalent. That's something, this is something that men really, are geared towards. We have to learn how to do that. You have to learn how to win. Mm-hmm. Kevin, you would agree with learning how to win, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, and here's the thing. I was raised as a single parent. My mother couldn't have been a more strong, independent Black woman. I was raised in the de facto covenant, and if I can learn it, anybody can learn it.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I get exasperated often because it's so. I guess what Kevin said is true. It's too, how you put it, Occam's razor is too sharp. Because to me, it's so easy to see. And I'll tell you something else. My dad and my granddad taught me to see things in that Occam's razor light. It just cut through the bullshit, man.
When you think about some of the most important inventions in the world, I mean, fire, pretty goddamn simple invention, right? Wow, spark here, fire, changed the world. We actually was able to heat, cook, all kind of things. A wheel. All right, well, think about something as simple as a Post-it note. A 12-year-old kid came up with this idea. What you basically distilled an entire experience down to something that everybody understands, male-female relationships. Everybody understands that. Everybody don't understand psychology, philosophy, anthropology, but they do understand not getting along with a bitch. Excuse my French. And we get that because just like I know why. Okay, anybody who thinks what Obsidian is saying is wrong, understand this. Why is it that Black men can get further single? Why is it the most of us can get further single than we can coupled or married? That is bad, and that is just not the dynamic that's supposed to be. We should be able to get further as a unit, but far more of us find that we can do our best when we are at least with women who are on our page, or better than that, if you can't find a woman that's going to at least get in her position, just not even deal with it.
Well, do you brothers think that it's part of a trend? I don't want to jump off topic, but when white people get a cold, Black people get the flu, right? We know that to be true. And here lately, especially when you're talking about millennials, right? Mm-hmm. About 62% of millennials right now are still living with their parents.
Absolutely. It goes back to what Shawn is talking about. They're
still living with their parents.
It goes back to what Shawn is talking about. Absolutely. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. We keep dancing around the mobile, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. And I'm talking about the men now. These millennial guys are pussies. They are. They're pussies.
Yeah, well.
They're walking vaginas.
Yeah, I agree.
I've never heard so many bullshit excuses from grown fucking men in my life.
I agree.
Everything is an excuse. Everything.
Coach.
Like, Jesus Christ, what is the excuse today? I just want to see what the excuse is this time. What's the bullshit this time? One big cereal bowl of bullshit for breakfast. What is it today?
Well, when you're making excuses, when you say people are making excuses, Obsidian, you're saying that you're not keeping things in context and all this kind of nonsense. And the fact remains is that I know that most of these young people, especially the millennial age, they are slated to be the first generation that are doing worse than their goddamn parents.
And the reason why, big reason for it, it's not the only reason, but a major one is what Shawn James is talking about in his new book. Is everybody listening right now going over to Amazon and getting the fucking book? I'm getting the book. Are you? Now, what's the excuse for that? Humana. What's the excuse for that?
Well, when you
support black male media, they got an excuse for that.
When you have a generation of men raised by women,
can't buy a book that a brother just wrote. No excuse. They got an excuse for that.
What's the title of the book?
The title of the book is The Man Crisis.
Right. Okay, what's the excuse this time? What's the excuse? And the thing with me is this. Bring it back to Kevin Samuels, the image guy. So what has Kevin Samuels been talking about? Being on some man shit. How you gonna be a grown fucking man and you won't even own one fucking suit? That shit is pathetic. That's fucking pathetic. How you gonna be a grown ass man? You got facial hair. When you take your drawers off, the shit is funky. You ain't no baby. How you gonna be a grown fucking man? You ain't got one suit, not one. If you're dead today or tomorrow, nobody got a suit to put your ass in.
Think about this, Obsidian. Most of these guys don't even know how to tie a tie, and Kevin Samuels can freaking attest to that.
And then on top of that, gonna argue the man down about not. I gotta get a suit. Well, I gotta do that, motherfucker. The dude said get a suit. Look, man, this is what I did, and I told him this the other day. I said this shit's gotta stop. You know what? I'm out of here. Right. I stopped what I was doing Wednesday. I could have found an excuse, kept on working. All right, I got other important things to do. Nope. I dropped what I did. I'm telling you exactly where I went. Took my ass down to 1225 Chestnut Street, Philadelphia, the suit store. Got me a 3-piece gray suit. Tailored right on the spot.
There you go.
Well, I used to run into all those type of guys when I was working at Strive and AmeriCorps 2000. And the sad thing is, things have actually gotten worse. Because when I was working at the Strive program, we ran into guys like this in the job readiness. They didn't know how to wear shirts that were fitted. They didn't even know how to dress for a job interview. And what's really sad is in the 18 years since I've worked there with AmeriCorps, things have gotten worse with a lot of these males. And a lot of them, they think that some of them are so bad they want to take their parents to a job interview. And that's just how sad and pathetic these males have become.
Yeah. What? I could tell.
Whoa, stop.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me there are grown fucking adult men taking their mama on a job fucking interview? Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, yes, there are.
No, he's not kidding. I got. We don't have enough time today, but that's why I said.
Oh, no, we got time. We got to talk about this shit. Oh, we got time on this. I can't believe this shit. I can't believe I just fucking heard that.
Yeah.
I can't fucking believe it.
Not take him to the job interview. Mama's sitting out
in
the lobby, filling out
them.
Jesus. Yeah, go ahead, Shawn.
Larry H said, that's your first suit you bought at damn near 50 being a blue collar guy? Fuck no, Larry H. Fuck no. I probably done had more suits than you had draws in your life.
Oh yeah, guys, buy the book, Negroes. I just put my link, my receipt in the chat room. Y'all can bust some bread too.
Hey, can I say something real quick? This is A1, known as a taunt in this one, man. Peace out to the chat room. Peace out to all the brothers that's inside the panel. I just wanted to know, what is the system that created this situation we in as far as these single mothers? Because, are you aware that jobs wasn't always easily available? Now, I know Obsidian, he sound like a man's man. He sound like a real hard-working man, and a brother that can get it done. But for a lot of people don't have that work ethic like you have. But as far as the system that created this whole single mother or whatever, there is a system that created that. Am I wrong? Am I right or wrong about that?
Okay, so let's all agree that the system did create it. Now what?
Okay, so the problem is that it's still a solution that you still have to go back, and half of these bitch ass niggas out here, you still have to go back and unprogram them from what their mothers taught them. So regardless of how they go, they still lack the fatherhood in the house.
Yes and no. Look, okay. So I'm a millennial, right? I didn't grow up with my father. Now, I knew of my dad. My dad did come pick me up a few times while I was, a kid or whatnot. But man, I grew up with a mother who may have worked a total, and since I've been born to this present minute, she has probably worked 3 total months. a sum total of 3 months, my entire lifespan. Now, I had no one around me to show me what it was like to be a man, or to show me what it was like to even think logically, or to reason through things, or to deny myself present satisfaction in light of future endeavors that could be more salubrious for me. Like, I had none of that, right? But I still arrived to the place where I could stand up as a man, where I could stand up and understand that, hey, I got to take care of my business, right? I need to not only work, but I need to diversify my income. I need to learn how to diversify my income. I need to learn how to think. I need to learn how to solve complex problems and issues and understand how to navigate life. I need to master what it means to move throughout society in the social dynamics in the various circles that I run in, right? I need to understand how to study people and work with them in a way in which I can maximize that relational potential there, right? I have to understand these things, right? And I'm talking about, not only did I come from a single mother household, I came from an abusive single mother household. A very abusive single mother household.
Black boys have been abused. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, bro, you are a lucky brother. You know what I mean, brothers? Listen, I'm in a program, a re-entry program. I'm actually in New Jersey or whatever. And I work for I'm actually a culinary instructor at Hudson County Community College. But what I also do is I give my time at least once a month to go talk to the local youth house in Essex County, New Jersey, right? Now, do you know how many brothers out there, or young brothers, who got that same story you just said, but wasn't able to pull themselves up from the bootstraps? And it's not the fact that a lot of these kids are weak. It's the fact that a lot of these kids didn't have that father. Like, I had that father that took me to work with him, that showed me how to fix things. If something broke in the house, he had to fix it, or we had to fix it together. And he showed me how to cook. He showed me how to be a man. He showed me how to tie a tie. Do you know how many young brothers out here who don't have that same situation, who never seen a person work, and they expect everything to come free to them? So, I mean, it also, there was a system that created that, because I'm 42. I grew up in the 90s. I grew up around the crack era and all that. And I can tell you this much. I remember when there was no fucking jobs out here. You understand what I'm saying? But now,
one more time to answer your question, one more time in the chat room says, brothers complain about lack of jobs. You then ask them, what have they done to get a well-paying job? Crickets. You see, if you have not done anything in the time you have been on this earth, you will fail. Boom.
Indeed. I concur with that. But you have to. But
see, this goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning of the show. I quoted Sun Tzu's The Art of War. The very first chapter is called Laying Plans. Mm-hmm. What is your plan?
Let me say something. I hear what you're saying, bro, but I'm gonna push back this way. When I hear there were no good jobs or well-paying jobs, is that what you said?
Jobs, period, bro.
Okay.
Jobs, period. Okay. There was no Walmarts. There was no Targets. There was no Listen, there was just not a lot of jobs available for men at that point in time. That's the reason why you have a lot of brothers who did indulge in selling drugs.
Hold on, bro. Hold on. You're saying there's always work. I mean, it may not be where you are, but you got to go where the work is. Because here's what I cannot side with. Was there anybody working somewhere in your neighborhood? Or was everybody selling drugs?
You asking me? I just told you I just came from a parent. My father was a truck driver, so I seen it. But I can.
So my point is, yeah, they may not be. You got to go. There's work. You got to go find where the work is, or what I'm saying is that can't always be the reason. I get what you're saying.
And your father by definition traveled for work because he was a truck driver.
And you're talking to a cat who, to start this business, I walked away from a 6-figure corporate job. 6 figures for a long time. Do you understand I was cleaning toilets at Walmart and stocking shelves while I'm on YouTube building. I did what I had to do. Since I graduated college, I've always had a side hustle or something. We need more black men to find a way. How did our fathers and our grandfathers and our great grandfathers who went through more shit than we went through, arguably with Jim Crow, racism, show enough racism, how they find a way? They found work. See, what I find is a lot of, not you, and I'm not talking about the folks here, but what I find is a lot of brothers don't get the jobs they think they should have or want. They don't want to put on that polyester uniform and that paper hat at McDonald's, make $3.35 an hour. I got no respect for the cats like that who tell me there's no work when I could always find work. And I knew plenty of people in my hood, my projects around here, who came with that same stuff. There ain't no jobs around. Well, then carry your ass over to Midwest City or Dell City. Get on the bus. Do what you got to do. No, man, I ain't riding no bus. I ain't getting on no bike. Oh, okay.
Yep. And Charles Warren talked about this in his book, Coming Apart. And he was talking about white folks. And he says the exact same thing. And the reason why, and I want to go back to Shawn James, the reason why they didn't take it was because it wasn't seen as desirable in the eyes of women. Now, let me explain something. Coming Apart, Charles Murray. Matter of fact, go over to Amazon, get Shawn James's book, then get you a copy of Coming Apart. You can get it cheap, get a used copy, nice and cheap, cost you a couple bucks. Read what I'm talking about. And he says that the welfare state has contributed to that. How did it contribute to that? Because it used to be a man doing the regular, somewhat menial job still had status. Because he was doing something positive with his life, taking care of a family. But if that same woman now has got Big Daddy government taking care of her, it harms that man's bargaining power. It undercuts him. See, I'm a union man. I understand this stuff. Now you know the reason why I'm always talking about the welfare state. Oh, and Xanatos Clutch in the chat room says, who called in the Pookie and Ray Ray Defense Force? I love that. I like that. All right, Shawn James, your response.
What was the question again?
I'm arguing that the reason why a lot of these guys don't want to take these jobs is because in the eyes of black women, they are low status. And I think that the welfare state has fucked that up. It's come in and meddled with it. If the welfare state is your baby daddy, is your man, he can always do better than your baby daddy or any potential men in your purview, because who can beat City Hall?
I believe that's part of it, that some of the welfare state has enabled this idea in women's mind that they can always do better. But I also see another part of it in the job market today, because with this gynocentric job market, I'm noticing that a lot of the black men, they do go out here and apply for jobs, because I remember going to things like these hiring pools for the CUNY civil service and even going to retail jobs like Target to try to interview for these jobs. And you just run into a serious brick wall these days, to what I call the HR brick wall. And this brick wall, every time a black man tries to apply for a job or a man tries to apply for a job, he runs into this wall that's been erected by a lot of these females who use their female own group preference to go out of their way to hire women over men. And this is something I talk about in the man crisis, because a lot of guys are just not able to get over this wall for employment. And that's why a lot of men have just walked away from the job market altogether, because they feel like every time they try to apply for these jobs, they go for these interviews, the women erect this brick wall, and then they go to the interview, and the women are just being apathetic, indifferent, and really even sometimes even hostile and nasty. And I've run into that interview, so they just give up.
Are we talking about black women in HR?
Not just black women in HR. I've run into Hispanic women like this, white women like this. They're just they erect a brick wall that keeps men from being able to find full-time employment. So a lot of guys.
Why do you think that is? Why are they doing? Why do you think that is?
Well, I can tell you. Let me just co-sign what he said. As a corporate image consultant, part of what I do with companies, I come into their hiring process, and then when companies are experiencing problems with their brand and their bottom line. And a major problem is because HR, women have that thing that's called same-sex preference. The same reason why why women will. When was the last time you ever heard any group of women criticize another group of women openly that weren't married? Married women may tend to, but single women tend not to criticize women on any reason. So when they see a man coming in, especially a black man coming in for a job, black women instinctively look at black men as their competition. And so much of HR is populated, and HR is a woman-driven division. So companies are finally starting to move hiring into more management positions, putting men in charge of more of it because of some of the stuff Shawn is talking about, because they're losing too many quality candidates and the workforce is becoming, let's just say, too estrogen filled in some areas, which ultimately affects the company's bottom line.
Can I add to that too, with the influx of immigration too? Because I noticed that a lot of brothers, they go look for jobs, and a lot of these Spanish, well, a lot of these Spanish ran companies. They ain't got to be just Spanish ran companies, but it could be a Latino or Hispanic that's doing the hiring process. And a lot of time, they only want to hire their own people. So it's not just only black women in particular, it's also the influx of this immigration, and a lot of people want to hire their own people as well. You know, we like I said, I work for. We send these kids out looking for jobs. A lot of kids, they go get the job, do the interview process. We teach them how to set up, not smoke cigarettes, no chewing no gum, nice haircut, suit, tie, everything. And a lot of these kids don't get the jobs, and they have to apply for at least 6-7 jobs before they get one job. And
oh my God, all the horror!
What's the problem with that?
Jobs. Oh my God!
Bro, I'm just telling you what I see. I'm just telling you what I see.
I can agree with your experience because I've applied for like 50 or 100 jobs a day, and I run into the exact same thing.
See? I mean, that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's just not like some listen, you got to understand. Some of us might get it. We might just happen to get over it. Some of us might just be a little bit more like we'll take certain jobs. But you got to also look, man, what type of, when you go out and look for a job, you got to see what it's going to cut. Because if your rent is $2,500 a month, or in certain places, just like New York, for example. Let's take New York, for example. Okay. A one-bedroom apartment in New York is $1,500 to whatever you want to imagine it. So you gotta have a certain income coming in to just pay the rent, pay your utilities. I mean, you could take it, but
I'll tell you this. Okay, when I moved from Dallas to New York, my rent went from $800 to $2,500 a month. But I also went from making $50,000 to $125,000, so I could live in Hell's Kitchen. You know what I'd have had to do if I couldn't afford to pay that rent? I'd have had to move my ass over to Jersey City, Hoboken, or somewhere where I could afford it. See, we've gotten into this thing in this country where everybody thinks they should have a 5-bedroom house and drive a Mercedes. No, some people need to drive a Honda Civic or a Honda hatchback. Some people need to do like white folks do on Friends and move in. You got to live with what you got to live with.
And not only that, Kevin, what I'm not hearing in this conversation at all is this. What are the skills that the young men have? What skills do they bring to the table?
I mean, they could just
what preparation have they made? See, I was prepared. The reason why I was successful coming right out of high school, literally grandfathered into my first job, was because I had at least a decade of preparation as an apprentice.
And let me say something about working at McDonald's. I got a lot of people laughed at me when I got a McDonald's job because honestly, I lived in the hood. I could have flipped flour. I could have did it, but I put on that funky polyester uniform and that paper hat. And they laughed at me, but I went to work for McDonald's because I knew it was a major corporation. I also knew they had something to where you could become a franchise owner and own your own McDonald's, and you could actually become a millionaire back in the 80s and early 90s, which was unthinkable kind of money when minimum wage was $3.35 an hour. They also had something at the time called Hamburger University, believe it or not, in Schaumburg, Illinois, where if you decided to go to college, the McDonald's Corporation would pay a portion of your tuition, if not all of it, if you committed to go to work with them. So while people laughed, I looked at McDonald's as a corporation and a stepping stone. And I will tell you, I learned more about working in the corporate America, working at McDonald's, than I did in college because guess what? I was humble than a motherfucker, and I went there and I learned everything. And honestly, I hear what you're saying, fam. Obsidian's talking about what skills. How are they working on? A man has to go into things with a certain mindset. Yeah, you're going to have to apply more. You're going to have to do more. But then what are you doing when you get it? Are you maximizing an opportunity? Or are you still expecting it? Well, I'll just leave it that way.
No, I'm just saying, I'm not hearing
honest,
anybody
man.
on the panel talking about what skills do these young men have to go out into the world to make a living for themselves. Yo, man, I was on my own at 18, man.
Brother Obsidian, I'm just like you. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 17 years old, but I was raised by my father. My father had a landscape business for 25 years, and I was working with my old man ever since I was about 7 or 8 years old. Being around him is what taught me how I had the ability to move out because of his training. You look at some of these young folks now, man, let's be honest. Some of these fucking dudes are just straight up lazy. Okay, they've learned laziness. Okay, they have a laziness culture, a laziness pathology, because see, the people who are raising them, they have a laziness culture. They have a laziness pathology. So that pathology is passed down to these children. I don't give a shit if you didn't have a father in your house. If your mother was about any damn thing, if she was about anything, she would have been teaching you life skills to make sure that you weren't living in poverty like her black ass. You understand? She would have been teaching you these things. I don't care. She would have been teaching you at least how to live. But she couldn't teach you that. Why? Because she didn't know how to live.
I have to agree with that, because these kids today, they don't have any of those life skills at all. And that's why a lot of these males are in crisis right now, because they're trying to navigate the world. They were never taught anything because their mother was never taught anything. Their mothers, all they knew was the welfare state, and all they knew was to get their needs met by the welfare state and the government programs from the welfare state. So that's what they taught their kids, and that's why their kids have no life skills like many of us had.
That's right. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just telling you from experience. I ain't telling you from my experience, because I'm a home. I got my own properties. I'm working on my third degree actually, and I have other numerous skills and trades. I'm telling you from the kids that I go and volunteer to try to help to lift up out the situation. See how we talking, having this conversation here on YouTube? I go do this first person with kids who need to hear this, who I'm trying to lift. But I'm just telling you that a lot of these kids don't have no trades. They had to start from somewhere. So like the brother said, he worked at McDonald's. A lot of these kids is trying to make that their first opportunity to do that. And they ain't trying to just fall back on a job. They're trying to find a career or something that's going to be sufficient for them to be able to survive out here. But like the brother said, if you learning this from a mother who didn't teach you shit, then you know what I'm saying? A lot of these kids 18 years old starting from 18 instead of starting from 7 or 8 or 10, learning how to work or learning how to be proficient out here. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling you from the experience that I see.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
My personal experience.
All right, so let me ask you this question. And brother Xavier, I want you to chime in on this too. So what did my mom and brother Xavier's mom do that all these other moms in Black America didn't do? They did something right.
I mean, you got to
what did they do that all these other moms didn't do? Tell me.
You got to elaborate on what your mother, what was your living situation. You can't just say because
she wrestled a man. She was able to lasso a man and keep him and have him there to raise those children that she pumped out. Boom. That's what I could say about my mama.
My mother did the same thing. So I mean, like, what are we saying? We're
saying that it starts in the home. Again.
Exactly. But when you have movies like Claudine, when you have these women that's on welfare with multiple children that don't need the man at home, that can do without the man because the system going to take care of them, then they're going to raise these bitch ass niggas, and it's up to us.
Well, clearly it's not working.
I mean,
clearly it's not working.
Hey, bro.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be here having this conversation. It doesn't work.
You absolutely right. I'm not agreeing with the system. I'm not agreeing with none of this shit. I'm just telling you what I see out there.
So it's clear to me. One more again, the solution is it starts in the home.
That's right. That's right. But you have to.
I'm not being nobody. And listen, I am not taking care of none of these bitches' kids.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And I ain't dealing with none of these bras. I ain't fucking. I ain't paying for them. I ain't mentoring their little childrens. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing none of that shit. I'm not doing it.
So you don't think Obsidian, your skill level and what you was taught, you don't think that you being as though that we do have a system to which, you know, we all heard of the crab of the barrel syndrome. You don't think that you can be of assistance to some of these young brothers out here?
Absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you the reason why. When you do this, you enable the fuckery. You want more of something, subsidize it. You want less of something, tax it. When more black women start seeing motherfuckers, other fellow black women suffering hard behind this shit, believe me, it will change behavior. Believe it.
I mean, but until then, we what are we having these conversations?
Lock them the fuck up.
If we not going back and help kids.
So look, I just had a conversation with a black woman not too long ago in real time. Well, it was so I was at my barbershop and they started talking. And I just, I said that black men shouldn't date single black mothers. Now, that caused all the women's ears to perk up and kind of come at me, right? But one of the things in which I stated was that because one of the mothers not one of them, all of them, they stated that it is other people's jobs to mentor, tutor, encourage, and build their children up.
See, there you go. There you go.
They completely relieve themselves of responsibility of that. And I
there
told
you go.
them, and
in other words, they want other men to do the heavy lifting of being their baby daddy. Now, what do you think these same women are going to be incentivized to do? Think incentives. What do you think these other women are going to be incentivized to do? What kind of men are they going to be incentivized to have kids with? Because understand something, fellas. It's a fact that in Black America, black women who are single mothers, who are baby mamas, 60% of them have more than one baby daddy. That's a fact. So when you go in with your Dudley Do-Right ass and try to call yourself going to help the community, what do you think those black women are going to do? They're going to be incentivized to get with more ain't shit black men. Why wouldn't they be? Because you're going to be there to help them take care of them. If I'm going to be doing heavy lifting, she got to be sucking and fucking me. And I ain't paying my money to subsidize her ass either. Hence my position. Let's all say it together, boys and girls. Sing along if you know the words. Cuts! That's what I'm voting for, bitches. Cuts! Because you ain't getting none of my goddamn money if y'all got anything to do with it. You ungrateful wenches. Cuts!
So us as black men, we don't have no responsibility to the youth. I don't give a fuck who children it is. I don't care if the single mother got 10. I'm talking about we sitting up here trying to make solutions on how to fix the situation. So you telling me that we don't have no responsibility to go back and help some of these kids out?
Absolutely not.
You know who has responsibility?
That's some sad
no one has that responsibility. Their baby daddy has a responsibility.
Who has
maybe they don't have a father.
Here's my daughter. Wait a minute.
No, they do have a father. Go find his ass and make him do it.
Exactly.
Ain't no, so you telling me that you went and want somebody, you telling me that lending or giving a brother some knowledge on how to get themselves out of situation is a bad thing?
Yes.
That's some fucked up shit. That's the reason why
yes.
we're in the situation.
I just explained to you why.
That's the reason why the situation. That ain't.
It's
but
not
that's
my fault that you don't understand incentives.
That's not a tangible.
How's it my fault that you don't understand incentives?
I understand exactly.
All right, then. So why are you asking me that question?
What you mean? What I'm asking?
Because you clearly don't understand incentives. If you want more of something, subsidize it. If you want less of something, tax it. That's just simple human nature.
We're gonna be living in the same situation for the next 50 years.
We're gonna take those motherfuckers and put their ass in raw way. If they don't act right, there's a place for them. It's called prison.
And
that's where you go when you can't act right per the dictates of society.
But you talking about a job.
In New Jersey.
You ain't talking about a brother
committing crime. Fuck up in Rahway.
So you gonna lock a brother because he don't have a job because he
no, I'm gonna lock a brother up because he don't know how to act.
Okay, that's a totally different situation. That ain't the same situation. It's two different situations we talking about.
Well, a lot of brothers say I ain't got no job there, ergo I must sell drugs. Okay, we're gonna lock your ass up.
I mean, from what I hear these days, it ain't no drug money, so that ain't gonna work. So that's a totally different situation. But all I'm saying to you,
so if those guys get the requisite skills, they can go in the military. What's stopping them? They can go in the military right now. What's stopping them? All those guys that need all this help, there's help for them in the military. Army, Navy, U.S., Air Force, Marines. Go right in there and join up, and boom, you got your skills, and they make a man out of you. What's the problem now?
I mean, that's your opinion. I don't believe in going to no white man military fighting.
Oh, bullshit! See,
I don't believe that. I don't.
See what I'm talking about, y'all?
I'm not going to no white man military to become
what I'm talking about?
Assassin for no military, for no government. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I'm not telling nobody else do that. Why would I tell? I mean, listen, bro. Like I said, you cut from a different cloth. I'm not telling nobody to go to no white man military, become a murderer or assassin, or go around the world and oppress these other kids. I mean,
yeah, it's okay to assassinate black people in the community, though.
Yeah, everybody not doing that.
Let me ask the brother something. Let me ask the brother something. Let me ask the brother something. Now, what is the alternative? Because we have these conversations all the time, my brother. I mean, we have these conversations.
Alternatives. There's only a few. I'm talking about whatever the situation. It's different situations. Some, like you said, some of these kids are criminals. Some of them need to be locked up. But a lot of these kids just have lack of knowledge or lack of guidance. It ain't got nothing to do with, man. Like I said, man, I didn't grew up in the projects, and we always had the so-called crab in the barrel syndrome, to where you get yourself out the situation you in, you can always go back and help somebody else out. You can always do that. Shit ain't gonna cost you nothing to do that.
Oh, yes, it does. It costs me my time and my dime. The last time I checked, I get to determine what I do with both. I'll be goddamn if I'm going to be paying for any of these bitches, wayward kids, showing them how to do shit. I am only doing that for the woman I'm sucking and fucking on a regular basis. Otherwise, they can kick fucking boulders.
Bro, you act like somebody go knock from door to door like, yo, you need help. Nah, it's systems out here to where you can help some of these kids. What's wrong with lending a hand?
Why can't they go and get the baby daddy to do it? I'll tell you why. Because they knew he wasn't shit. All he was good for was a good fuck. And a lot of black women know it, and they won't admit it. But they fucking with the right one here, because I know how to fix problems. Cuts! That's what we're going to have.
Plus, when we talk about people going back in the neighborhoods and stuff like that, I hear that term a lot, to give back, which would imply that you actually got something from said neighborhood, which I don't believe most brothers.
I ain't giving them nothing but a wet smack ass.
Most brothers who made it out of the hood and actually are successful, they haven't gotten shit from the hood that they need to give back. I think that brothers who want to give back should, but I don't think that brothers who don't want to should be forced to, just for the simple fact that
ain't nobody beating a dead horse, man. That's to the individual himself. Ain't nobody sitting here telling nobody what. If the brother I'm sitting in, that's the way that's his opinion and how he think. That's cool. I'm not sitting up here just telling him what he should do. But you
just heard Bill McMasters. You just heard what he said with the baby mamas he was talking to, and all of them were in agreement that it was the job of all the other black men to help mentor their dude bastard hellion children. I ain't doing shit.
I mean, I ain't never heard no. I never.
Baby daddy ain't shit. Whose fault is that? Take a good, long, hard look in the mirror, you dumb, ingrate bitch. That's my position.
But you know, when you hear women in mass say mentor, what they really mean is raise. That's what they really mean. They really mean raise.
You can't raise.
That's what they mean when they say that.
If I heard a woman say that, I would have spent off too. But all I'm saying to you in certain situations, like I said, man, we have certain obligations as black men. It doesn't matter whether or not you agree, but I'm just telling you like this. So what, we just supposed to work, get money, and then that's it? That's your only. You're
supposed to be a good American.
A good American.
That's it.
Well, here's the thing: when a man calls himself trying to mentor other people's children, the same women will come in and tell you not to do anything with their children. So it's just a waste of your time.
Well, I ain't talking about mentoring no children. I'm talking about going back. Like I said, I go to the local detention center. I go to the youth house or whatever. And you
mean JUCO prison?
I mean, if you want to call it
junior.
that, exactly.
Junior prison.
If you want to call it that.
You got the future psychopaths, rapists, gangbangers, violent offenders of tomorrow.
Well, a lot of these kids got non-violent offenses, huh, my brother. So all of these brothers ain't got no shootings.
So they were jaywalking and got landed in there. What was
they
the
got
deal?
non-violent offenses.
They got
caught with a substance.
What do you mean a substance? What substance?
Got caught with a substance.
What's a substance?
A drug. It could be a drug.
So they got caught with drugs.
Okay, Aaron. The last I checked. The last I checked.
Drugs.
I mean, bro, listen.
Do you realize that my dad, if I even came near drug, my dad would fucking kill me?
That's your father, Obsidian. That's you. You are a different situation. You keeping it on. You keeping on yourself. Everybody was not raised like you.
And that's the fucking problem. Go keep the baby daddy and go solve that shit.
Half the brothers on the panel ain't got the same situation.
From where I come from, if you got caught with drugs, you just get put out the house. Parents wouldn't put up with that.
Yeah, I had a rough father too, man. My father was like a silverback gorilla. He didn't put up with none of that shit. I didn't start doing shit till after I moved out of my father's house. So
I'll tell you, my mother, my dad was there half the time before he left, but my mom wouldn't put up with that shit. So I really can't co-sign with that.
So everybody up here quiet. Nobody ever did nothing wrong. Everybody up here is angels. Nobody ever did nothing wrong.
I did a lot of shit wrong, my brother. Right, I did a lot of shit. Okay. I did a lot of shit wrong, my brother, but I didn't do shit wrong while I was living in my father's house.
Behavioral modification methods were highly persuasive. Highly persuasive.
Hey, okay, you know what? A lot of these kids need that same, you know what I'm saying? That same motivation. I'm not sitting up here telling you they don't. They need that same motivation.
Hey, Aboriginal, let me say something. I grew up in Baltimore, man. And I can attest to the fact that I used to get into a lot of fucking trouble. I never got into drugs or anything like that. But my mom always thought that I was a good kid. So I would go home, act like a good kid. But when I'm out of her sight, I'm in the street getting an devilment. But I got my wake-up call at 17 when I was sitting in juvenile jail. And the police officer just said, hey, man, you get one more chance. He said, when you turn 18, this stuff gets real. A felony on your record is not something you want as an adult. And that was my wake-up call, man. So
and he didn't have to say that to you, right? So he didn't. He gave you information that he really didn't have to say nothing to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So all right. So he gave you encouragement for you to change, right?
Absolutely, because I didn't want to go to jail.
Okay, there we have it. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. We can't have these conversations if everybody always lived a spectrally clean life.
No.
You need brothers up here who come from different situations. You can't have everybody who got a success story. You gotta have somebody who been to prison. That's why you have to have diversity among black men. You just can't be talking to all the same type of brothers.
Hey, Aborigine, some people are going to fall through the cracks. I mean, that's
yes, indeed. But what I'm saying is, you cannot have these conversations with everybody who always got a fucking success story.
Absolutely.
Half the brothers in the chat room, they ain't got the same success story. So that's what I'm trying to say. We all don't come from the same situation. So we can't all sit up here and act like because Obsidian saying he came from a certain situation just to say, oh, well, you might not want to put your information out there and say, yeah, I saw drugs. Because some of these brothers up here might have been in prison, but they ain't revealing themselves saying that. So come on, man. So we
got Xanatos Clutch back in the house.
He had to come back for
another. Go ahead, Xanatos.
They need to hop on this panel then.
Man,
on the panel.
Man, I've been talking shit in the panel. I was the one who said who called in the Pookie and Ray Ray Defense Force. And as far as I'm concerned with this, look,
I love it.
I don't talk shit without at the very least putting my neck out there. So with what I heard so far as I'm concerned, I was raised borderline of Washington, D.C., the worst part of Washington, D.C. And all I saw from the most part, we had opportunities. These weren't the best opportunities, but we had opportunities nonetheless. We had jobs, especially in a place like the nation's capital. But we didn't have the best jobs, especially as teenagers. No, but we had jobs nonetheless. I'll tell you what I did myself compared to what others did. I myself, when I was 13 years old, you know what I did for a side hustle? Started bagging groceries. Paid at least $20 every single time. And after that, I hold on, I'm talking. You've had 30 years to talk. We've been hearing Pookie's and Ray Ray's talk about television throughout.
You ain't got to talk. It's talk, man. Don't want that ass talk. Let's talk.
Yeah. Calm yourself.
Yeah, just talk, you bitch ass nigga. Talk.
Oh, there we go.
Here we go. All right. Whoa. Easy. All right. Go ahead, Xanatos. You're going to be able to finish, and then Aborigine will be able to give a response. Go ahead, Xanatos.
So I moved on to other opportunities, other under-the-table hustles, under-the-table season jobs, whatever, until I was 16. I was able to get an official job myself. I've been working ever since. Compared to other individuals who I grew up with, a lot of them had the same opportunities as I had. You know what they chose? They chose to slum it out. They chose to keep it real. They chose to stay hood. And you know who made them do that? Themselves. They made the decision to stay in the muck and mire known as the victim, well, not even victim, but just thuggish ways of the community. And in many cases, it wasn't because they really enjoyed it. They did it because that's what they thought what a man was, what a masculine man was. A lot of these Negroes were led by women, mainly because a lot of us didn't have fathers in the house, but that's a whole nother story. But a lot of these individuals were led or let themselves into these scenarios, like getting locked up, getting shot, or just not having the skills to compete in this world, in many cases because they thought it was the thing to do. And let me just keep it honest. A lot of these guys were pussies. A lot of these guys were and still are pussies, mainly because they were afraid on how the community would respond to them and would see them hustling or earning an honest day's job. So save the excuse of how there was no opportunity, everyone was destitute, everyone was poor, it was basically Venezuela or Afghanistan or something like that. Save the excuse. I saw it firsthand on what a lot of these individuals did. And that's the narrative that doesn't get out there. A lot of these individuals chose their lot in life because they were too afraid on how they were going to be perceived by the greater gynocentric community.
Okay, I want to before I go back to Aborigine, I want to go back to Shawn James, our special guest, get his take on all this. Shawn James, your response?
Well, my response to that is Xanatos is absolutely right. A lot of these guys, I went to school with a lot of these guys back in the 80s, and a lot of these guys, they were taking the dope dealing game and the dope game because they wanted to get with the women. They wanted to get the attention of the women. They wanted to have on the troop jackets and the Air Jordan sneakers, and they wanted to get social currency with women rather than go out here and build a life for themselves. So these guys really weren't about getting life skills through work. They were all about working to impress these women and have all these amenities and these things that women would like and get their attention and their approval. So a lot of these guys, they wanted that gynocentric attention. They wanted that approval, and they wanted to be the number one guy in the eyes of women. And again, that's all due to the female upbringing that they had and the whole idea of working, not to work to build, but working so that they could get these women to notice them and see them as some sort of attractive.
I could definitely.
All right, Aborigine, I'm gonna give you a chance. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna shut down after this. So after Aborigine, we're gonna go through the whole panel, starting with Shawn James to give their final remarks, and we're gonna close out for the night. So go ahead, Aborigine. You wanted to respond, so I'm gonna give you a chance to respond. Go ahead, make it brief.
No doubt. Yo, I apologize for calling you out your name, my brother. But yeah, I mean, what he's saying is right, man. I mean, like I can contest to that, but I also contest to there was brothers who really truly tried to make it out and the situation just wasn't happening for them. Now, if you want to say that that's excuse or whatever, but you're right. There's a lot of brothers wanted to live, wanted the social woes, because I can tell you one thing. When I was in 10th grade, man, one of my classmates, man, this brother had a Benz. This brother used to come to school, Gucci suit, had a brand new fucking Benz with a Fendi rag on top of it. So I know what the temptation can lead to, and I understand exactly where we coming from. But you know what I'm saying is that's not my premise. All I'm saying is that I think that if we can help some of these brothers, and it's not go around and be a mentor to but it's just like if you have just like basically these conversations we having right now on YouTube, it might be brothers listening to this who this shit might be inspiring them themselves. So it ain't just so much of going out talking to people, it's just having these conversations to at least sway people's opinion or sway people's thought pattern to at least help them out. You know, with that, and with that, I yield the mic, man.
All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna close out at this point. I want to thank our special guest, Shawn James, author of The Man Crisis. You can get that right over at Amazon.com. Get your copy today. I'm going to get my copy. Everybody going to get a copy of the book. Support Shawn James. Support Black Male Media. Support Obsidian Radio. Shawn James, the floor is yours to make your closing remarks.
Well, when I wrote The Man Crisis, is to shine a light on this crisis that's going on here in America with America's men, because if we don't do something about this man crisis, we're not going to have an economy in the future, because it's men who drive the economy by building and creating businesses. And if we continue to breed these beta males, we're not going to have a group of males who have a work ethic or the discipline to go out here to build businesses, build families. And we need to make efforts right now to start working towards rebuilding the American man, and especially the American black man, because if we don't do something about this man crisis, we're going to have an economic crisis in the future.
Very, very good. I want to thank you so much, Shawn James, and I want to give everybody on the panel a chance to make a brief remark, about a minute, 2 minutes, no longer than that. Bill McMasters, you're up.
I just wanted to say thanks for having me, everybody. Yeah, I think that when it comes to life in general, right? Life should be about getting through it and solving problems in as a creative and effective manner as possible. And I think that as men, and I can attest to this as a person who grew up in a single mother household, we got to cut out the excuses. We have to augment ourselves as men so that we can surpass our previous selves and look forward to the future, become smarter, stronger, better thinkers, better problem solvers. And we need to be able to think around some of these complex issues and work with each other as black men to get a lot of the things done that we need to get done that are in our best interest. So I yield the mic.
All right. Thank you so much, brother. BA, you're up.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'd like to address Aborigine. At the end of the day, we are all either beneficiaries or victims of our own decision-making processes. The decisions we make today definitely affect us in the future. I will admit, I was one of the lucky ones that was in the hood, because when my parents divorced, my mother knew that she could not raise a boy into a man. So what did she do? She recruited male help. She recruited uncles, football coaches from the high school where I played football. If I got into trouble, police officers, and all of those people collectively turned me around. But I will concede, not all young boys have that male mentorship that they need, and hence some of them fall through the cracks, then some of them make the right decisions. So that's my closing remark.
All right, my man C Boogie, straight ahead. You're up, brother.
Yeah, straight ahead, man. Yeah, man, great panel. You know, I want to salute Shawn James. You know, as far as the conversation that we had earlier, man, you know, I joined the military when I was 17, man. That was pretty much my only option at that time. Literally only option. When I called up a recruiter, first thing I told him, I didn't ask him about no job. no signing bonus. I said, how fast can you get me out of Baltimore? Because I felt something bad was going to happen to me. You know, I've volunteered places before to help out young guys that's in the same situation as me. I don't see nothing wrong with it. You know, a lot of times I think this Pookie and Ray Ray thing is a little bit romanticized. Because you know what, man? When I ride into Baltimore on I-95, I ride back out of Baltimore on I-95. I don't have people clamoring at my legs, asking me to bring my skill set back. I don't have people calling me at 2 in the morning, asking me to bail nobody out. Nobody is asking me to volunteer at no soup kitchens. I do stuff on my own volition. So I think some of this stuff is just a bit romanticized about, doing for the community. I don't know. I think if people want to do stuff, it's up to them. You know what I'm saying? It's up to the individual. Bottom line, but I'm speaking from my personal experience. I don't get phone calls all day long about helping this person or helping that person. If some people do, then hey, you know what I'm saying? But I don't really see it like that. Besides some clowns on YouTube, in my real life, it's not really playing out like that. So I think that's a bit romanticized, but I understand where the brother was coming from. He volunteers his services because he wants to. And I volunteered my service because I wanted to. Nobody is making anybody do anything. I know Nagone has volunteered. Kevin has volunteered. Man, that's all I got to say about that, man. Some of this shit is very, very romanticized, man. And that's it.
Very good. My man, Nagone, go ahead, brother. You got it.
Yeah, you guys kind of dropped some fire up in here tonight, man. I just sat back and just kind of took it all in. Shawn James, good shit tonight, brother. He came in there, I think he dropped some real good stuff.
All right, thank you.
Really, I subscribe to your channel and all that, So, of course, I listen to everything, but really good point here. A lot of brothers all the way around. Aborigine made a good point. Some guys cannot get out. They didn't really have it like that. They didn't have some of the support. So some dudes did get caught, and and got caught up. It's just that is unfortunate reality of what does happen. But I still get back to the bigger point. Mindset, it's a key thing that we have to develop the proper mindset to get our minds right properly to really deal and move forward. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to look out for mentors, other people who we can rap to. The mamas can't do it. Getting involved in certain kind of activities that can help foster that will help sports, and a lot of things play a role in some of this. Even the individual himself can help to help himself. So I'll leave it at that. Like I said, I'm not going to sit back here and castigate anyone or sit back and put a lot of blame out. But I will say our mindset, very important. That has to be developed for us to move forward. Very, very important to have that, to work ethic, all that. It's mindset. It's a frame of mind. All right.
All right. And finally, my man, Brother Xavier, you got the last word.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks, Brother Obsidian, for letting the brother come up on. You still owe me a Thursday. Our aims to collect. But my summary is as follows. I have to be in agreement with Brother C Boogie because I was in the hood, in the bowels of the hood just 2 weeks ago. And people weren't hanging on the ride saying, give me a slice of bread, give me 50 cents. I walked down the streets of Brooklyn and Far Rockaway, and no one was standing out there asking me for $1 or trying to get me to start a youth center. So I agree that it's somewhat romanticized, I guess, for the, to make it appear a bigger problem than it really is. Is it a problem? Yes, of course it's a problem. But like the brother said, I think people put too much of a light on it and not too many facts on it. As far as the title of the show, I agree with brother Roland Martin. I think he was right on this one. I disagree with him with a lot of shit, but I do think he was right on this one in the context. And I agree with brother Shawn James. There is a man crisis. There's a man crisis on so many different fronts. And we as men, we need to understand that. Now, understanding is only half the battle. The question is, what do we do with said understanding? And on that, I'm going to say peace. Peace to the panel, peace to the chat, peace to the folks.
All right. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. And
what about Xanatos?
Go ahead.
What about Xanatos?
Oh, we already heard from Xanatos, man.
Oh, we did?
We already heard from him earlier.
Oh, man, okay.
Okay. That's how we started everything off. All right, so I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. I want to thank everybody on the panel and our special guest, Shawn James. Don't forget to check out the book, The Man Crisis. You can get it at Amazon right now. Don't forget to support the Shawn James initiative.